Hello to everybody. So as you know, I'm Vladimir Bulgarian Cowboy Vlad. We're now breaking down Gilbert Burns versus Demian Maia because I had some, I don't want to say a rant. It was just, word exchange on Twitter. But the guy is actually very cool. The guy is actually very, very cool. I understood that he is a Gilbert Burns fan too, and he was kind of unsure whether I like or don't like Gilbert Burns because of my comments, which were pretty much sounded negative for Damian Maia, but the comments were not negative at all. Now I'd like to make a real breakdown between Gilbert, Dorian Burns, and Damian Maia going forward. Well, this is going to be a tough battle, definitely. It happens in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, on March 14th. Looking back at both fighters' score, well, this is the Clash of Titans, the real Clash of Titans, because both of them are former ADCC champs, BJJ black belts, and including the fact that Damian Maia is probably the toughest guy at UFC welterweight division. He was only knocked out at UFC 102 to Nate Marquardt. Since then, nobody was able to KO Damian Maia. He has a chin made of iron. He was losing to Anderson Silva, Mark Munoz, Chris Weidman, Jake Shields, Rory McDonald, Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington, and Kamaru Usman. But these were decision losses. And the decision loss is not the same like, how you say, it's not the same like you were knocked out. Damian Maia is a tough dude, very, very tough dude. Now, looking back at Gilbert's history, I was interviewing Gilbert Burns, and looking back at his history, he was only knocked out once in the UFC to Dan Hooker. And looking back at his score, he is a tough dude, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very tough dude with only 2 losses, and his career is progressing. All right, maybe he hasn't taken part in that much, but like Damian Maia, who has a score of 28-9, but Gilbert Burns is having a completely different style compared to Damian Maia, because Burns is ready to kickbox, and he is also ready to not only to kickbox, he can box, he can take you down, he can take part in an all-around war, like most of you like to say. On the other side, Damian Maia either tries to take you down, either tries to punch with you. His kicks are solid. I mean, considering that he is a grappler, his kicks are very, very much solid. But compared to Gilbert's kicks, Gilbert's low kicks are, I think, way better, because looking back at his low kicks against Gunnar Nelson, that was the crucial thing that made the difference between the two, because it slowed down Gunnar's pace. Gunnar is a second dan black belt in karate, and Gunnar Nelson is a guy who likes to go forward, backward, who likes to ruin your distance, to play mind games with their opponents. And this mind game couldn't be played with a guy like Gilbert Burns, because Gilbert was simply not letting him play. He was giving him reasons to go forward. He was giving him reasons to retreat. He simply didn't let him play his own game, because before the match, Gilbert said that he was ready for a kickboxing affair, and it was pretty much a kickboxing affair aside of round 3, where there were some ground game and so on. Now, considering the fact that Gilbert knows to fight off distance very well, Damian Maia can fight off distance. I don't want to say he can't, but Gilbert's kickboxing comes from Glauber Feitosa, Francisco Filho, maybe two all-time best Brazilian kickboxers, and his strikes are technical, very technical. Damian Maia's kicks don't look like Dutch kickboxing. It maybe looks like a bit of kickboxing, but not Dutch kickboxing, which means his strikes are wider, which generally means that Gilbert's strikes are quicker. So if the fight goes off the distance, I'd definitely give advantage to Burns, because he got used to being the smaller guy in the division and being a guy with shorter range, because as he explained in an interview with me, Gilbert is doing something differently. He is manipulating the length of his technique. He is throwing longer strikes and longer kicks. He got used to that. On the other side, Demian Maia, looking back at the history of fighters that squared off with him, Tyron Woodley was smaller. He had a bad experience. Kamaru Usman is also, I think, smaller than him. All right, Colby is taller, Rory is taller, Jake Shields is smaller, Mark Munoz is smaller. Yeah, Nate Marquardt is the same height, but I want to say that Demian Maia wants to go for a takedown by any means, except against Ben Askren. He was going for takedowns. I mean, versus Ben Askren, he was definitely better. He was a better guy in the stand-up, despite we've seen a modified version of Ben Askren. Demian Maia was more than prepared for that, and he didn't let Askren get too much close. He was countering his punches, his counter strikes, his blows. But against some elite strikers like Tyron Woodley or Colby Covington, he simply had no chance, so he was trying to shoot in. Tyron Woodley, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, well, they fought wisely. They fought very wisely because they were very, very much ready to take part into that war, and they were stopping Demian Maia's takedowns. All right, Askren took Demian Maia 5 or 6 times, I mean, but you can't submit him. You simply can't submit Demian Maia. It's impossible. It's impossible. The guy is so skillful in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that he remained on the top of UFC welterweight and middleweight division for so long period of time, ladies and gentlemen. And this guy, he even fought for UFC middleweight championship against Anderson Silva earlier. So, man, what should you say? I mean, the guy is simply outstanding. His rear naked choke is fantastic. All right, he neck ranked Rick Story, Neil Magny, Matt Brown, Carlos Condit. They were finished via rear naked choke, just like Ben Askren earlier in that last match. But Ben Askren was trying to pound Maia out. Lyman Good was finished too, I forgot that. But Demian Maia, he was not trying to go into a war versus Ben Askren. He was going into a very patient tactical game. Ben Askren is not a guy who got used to such kind of wars. Oh man, so many rear naked chokes by Demian Maia, Ryan Jensen, yeah, Jason McDonald, Nate Quarry, even Charles Zonen stopped with a triangle choke. Ed Herman was stopped with a mounted triangle choke. But let's now get back to Ben Askren. I've got to... Hey bro. No, ne, sad su dvojica. Ali hvala ti. And thanks. About you can check Wilson Rice and Jose Shorty Torres. I had interviews, and looking back at Ben Askren, Demian Maia was not letting him outpunch him, but he was not defending those takedowns. He was taking part in a very, very patient battle, which is good. For Gilbert Burns, this is good because Gilbert is also a tactician expert. Gilbert Burns on the other side, yeah, he choked out Mike Davis. He finished maybe Dan Moret, Jason Sago, all right, Lukasz Sajewski, but he's an armbar phenom. Against Demian Maia, armbar is a bad option. Very, very bad option against Demian Maia, so you can't finish him. Now, the next thing, Gilbert Burns is ready for 3 rounds. He is even ready for 5 rounds. He is a cardio machine because he is patient, he is technical. Demian Maia took part in 5-round battles. This might be a problem. I don't know whether they fight in the main or co-main event of the evening, not sure yet. I mean, it can change, so I don't want to say, listen, it's set 4 and it changed. But 3 rounds, I'd say this even looks better for Gilbert, looking back at his fight against Nelson. Maia wins and it's easy money, Gilbert will... I don't think so. because Maia can win, but Maia can win only if the ground goes. If the fight goes to the ground via rear naked choke, yeah, he can win. If the fight goes to the ground, but if he takes part in a stand-up affair, if Gilbert does the same, if Gilbert uses the same tactics like Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, or Tyron Woodley did, I strongly believe Gilbert is gonna bounce back with a win. But I wouldn't be surprised if Demian Maia chokes him out, because Demian Maia is he is the best grappler at 170. I don't know a better grappler at that division nor in other divisions. Demian Maia is more than 10 years in UFC, and he is all the way in the top. I don't remember that he was falling much. He was going up and down, but always 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He was always high-ranked guy, a very, very strong, powerful guy with a devastating chin. And when you said Demian Maia, one thing also worries me about Gilbert Burns, because when he need Gunnar Nelson, he went for the finish the way he said. But one thing kind of made a problem, because Gunnar was an experienced guy, and he shot in, went for a takedown, and he was able to take him down. So I'm not worried if the fight goes in a stand-up, in a wild exchange. It's Gilbert's territory. I'm worried what will happen if Gilbert rocks Demian Maia. This is what I'm worried about, because if I'm Gilbert, I wouldn't go for the finish. I'd continue dancing, because you don't want to end up on the ground with Demian Maia. He is just too strong on the ground. Even a guy with credentials like Gilbert, I don't know if he goes to back mount or back flat. Despite I'm one of his biggest fans, I wouldn't be surprised. Gilbert isn't insane. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, okay, nice hit. No rocking. Yeah, well, that is what I'm talking about. No rocking. No rocking. You are right. If Gilbert doesn't rock him and he dances around, he has the chance. But if they go down, Maia is just too good. Definitely too good. Smoke from outside. Oh, yeah, smoke from outside. Well, of course, it's smoke from outside when it's foggy here. Of course, man. It's very, very much foggy here, and they said it will be a damn fog for them 7 days. So I'm pretty much worried. Maybe the area is fucked up, and no rocking in this game. Yeah. I should say, my advice would be for Gilbert to stop the takedowns and to circle all the time around his opponent, all the time to circle. Even if he rocks him, don't go down. Don't try to finish, because the only guy who finished Demian Maia was Nate Marquardt. But Nate Marquardt finished him, I think, 10 years ago, or very, very long period of time. Yeah, stand-up is not, isn't Maia's big part. Absolutely isn't, definitely. But Maia has a chin made of iron. Maia has chin like Blago Ivanov or Nate Diaz, and this is something that worries me. You hit him, but he keeps going. He's just, I don't know how to explain that. This guy simply doesn't want to go down. I don't know how, but he doesn't want to go down. And he is just too strong. I mean, Gilbert is technical kickboxer, not super powerful kickboxer, no, but technical kickboxer, yes. Looking back at his own fights and his performance, Demian Maia has very strong punches. I mean, let's be honest. If Demian Maia leads the fight, I'm not saying he's going to lead it, but if he leads the fight, just take a look at his last match against Anthony Rocco Martin. Just let's remember this match. What was he doing in the third round? Yeah, his chin hasn't been crushed with knee blows. Yeah, it hasn't been crushed. Absolutely, that's what I'm talking about. The guy has chin like Blago Ivanov. I mean, Derek Lewis didn't crush Blago Ivanov. Maia is Blago Ivanov of welterweight. That's what he is. Too tough, simply too tough. But looking back at Anthony Rocco Martin, Maia was leading for the first 2 rounds. I mean, he was leading. He held his opponent down. He was landing shots. And in the third round, Maia didn't even fight. He was just circling around. Staying away. He simply didn't want to fight. He is just a patient guy. Just a very, very patient tactical guy. He will not go for a knockout or for a finish unless it's super necessary or unless he sees an opportunity. And thanks for that comment, great breakdown. And if Maia sees the opportunity, he goes. But if he leads the fight, he'll just in the third round. He'll continue dancing. He'll stay away from the fight. All right, against Askren, yeah, you said he isn't insane like Ben. Yeah, Ben will go. Ben goes, and what happens, it happened. That's Ben. Gilbert is not that type of the opponent. He touches gloves and he thinks all the time. That's how Gilbert fights. He's thinking all the time. And looking back at his fight, just to remember who was his opponent, I think it was Dan Moret. I'm unsure. I think it was Dan Moret. The ref, Nick Jones, didn't even stop the fight. Gilbert rocked him hard, and the guy was like this. He was like this. He was out. And Gilbert went for a punch and stopped. He didn't want to continue pounding the opponent. So this just speaks about his thinking during the fight. He thinks a lot, really, really thinks a lot. And this could be a problem for Maia because Gilbert is not going like 1-1-1. No. Gilbert goes 1-2 think, or simply goes for a low kick or something. Some movements like this. That's Gilbert Burns. Maia is a guy who he will shoot in 100%, at least 2 or 3 times per round. All right, against Ben, there was no need to shoot him because he was the best wrestler in the division. He is not under contract now, but he was the best wrestler in the division. Maia was like, fine, take me down to the ground. I have no problem, but I'll try to stay away. Against Gilbert, Maia will try to shoot in. Gilbert's only chance when he tries to shoot in is either to sprawl back and, to lift his hips in the air, or to go for a flying knee the way he went against Gunnar Nelson. This could stop Maia. He will probably not knock him out. I'd like that to happen because I'm Gilbert's fan, but it's hard to expect. I think probably the bet for Gilbert's knockout is insanely big. I don't know. I don't bet, but I expect it's very, very big. And I'm not sure how could this happen. But he has to stop the takedowns. That's number 1. Number 2, he has to circle all the time. He has to think. He will do that. And number 3, he mustn't let Maia rock him. I don't think Maia will rock him. The way Milan said, there is no way Maia is going to rock him with his strikes. I mean, it can happen, but it's maybe very, very small opportunity. If the fight remains standing, Gilbert Burns wins. But if the fight goes to the ground, I'm not surprised seeing Maia finish it via rear naked choke or some other submission. But if Gilbert succeeds to get up, if he scrambles up, well, I'm pretty much sure that he is going to win that fight. Now let's see what's going to happen. I mean, March 14th is far away. Gilbert is kicking off his training camp. Let's see. I believe he can prepare well. I hope he's going to win because he's really one of my favorite fighters and one of the fighters who actually helped me. Because when I was pretty much down, unknown, journalist and so on, Gilbert offered me hand, and he was the first UFC fighter who accepted an interview with me. And there's no chance I'd ever be able to forget it. So according from my end, Gilbert is the man. I hope, of course, he's going to win, but I can hope. We'll see what will UFC Brasilia bring. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.